So, welcome to Experience More Tour. My name is Marshall. I am the facilitator of this network, which means I get to be up here talking with very, very interesting people in the outdoor industry. And today we have with us a woman who began her relationship with Arc'teryx as a gifted athlete. And then is so gifted that ARC was like, we need you in house, and now has come in house and is able to manage some of the athlete insights that go into the products that then we get to use. So it's really a cool system, and we're going to explore that a little bit today, as well as exploring the brand new Norvan LD4 GORE-TEX shoe, and then also maybe taking a look at that new Vertex Speed shoe that just came out. So it'll be really fun to explore this, and Kat is the absolute right person to do this with. So let's bring up Kat Drew to be able to start this conversation. Kat, good morning. How are you?
Good, good morning. I'm great. Thanks so much for the lovely intro. I'm really excited to be here with everyone and chat shoes.
It is an honor to have you, honestly. So thank you for taking time out of your day to nerd out with us a little bit today. Kat, where are you based? Where are you calling in from today?
I'm based in North Vancouver, so I live about 10 minutes from the design center and just right at the base of Grouse Mountain. So I have really nice access to trails around here in North Vancouver. Perfect testing grounds for the shoes.
Yes, it is, right? And for those who maybe haven't made that connection, NOR-VAN stands for North Vancouver, right? So, and what kind of trails do you have out of your back door? Like, what do you have access to right there?
Quite a range. I can get, I'm really close to the Baden Powell, which we'll probably talk about more later. And it's the famous trail. It runs across the North Shore Mountains, so it's about 30 miles long. We have lots of technical terrain, but then you can find trails that are nice and buffed out, flowy single track. And then we're almost in peak season, so we can head up to the Alpine Peaks. And we have some really nice local peaks just that I can honestly get to from my house, which is really nice.
Is the best, right? To be able to have
Yeah.
that quick access, and if you have an hour, you do a shorter run. If you have a day, you do a longer run, right? And not even have to get in your car necessarily.
Yeah.
It's that's very, very cool. Well, what is your current role at Arc'teryx? What's your title and your roles, or how do you fit into the organization at this moment?
So currently my role is I manage the product testing and athlete insights program on the footwear team. And I've been on the footwear team for almost a year and a half now. And yeah, so I get to work with really closely with the designers, developers, product line managers on the footwear team, and we all work together to create the shoes that you all have seen and hopefully worn recently.
Yes, well, I myself have been a big fan of the Norvan LDs from the beginning, and every iteration, honestly, to me, just makes me happier and happier. And so that it's been really neat to see the evolution of these shoes. So, and how long has this role existed as this athlete coordinator, bringing in these insights? Not athlete coordinator is the wrong word, right? The athlete insights manager.
Yeah, well, some they started bringing in athletes a couple years ago. There's a variety of athletes who work on different, who have different roles in Arc'teryx. And then myself and Adam Campbell both started on the footwear team. Adam's been helping out a little bit longer than I have, but about 2 years.
Hmm.
Um, and it was run previously by Scott Winston, who's still on the team, but he kind of started the program. He started the footwear testing program and athlete insights program. And they just thought it was the perfect way or the most important thing to do to bring in the information the footwear team needed
Hmm.
to be able to create these technical mountain shoes. So yeah, the first footwear was made in 2016. So the athlete insight stuff kind of started around there. And Adam's been on the athlete team for almost 20 years. So yeah, they've been collecting athlete insights for a long time. So we have a good vault of insights.
Yes, definitely. But then elevating those insights by bringing in folks like you to work very specifically on it, right? Really saying like, actually, we need this, and we're gonna bring somebody as talented as yourself in to really help coordinate that. And we're seeing some of the fruits of that labor now, which is really exciting. And what's been your path to get this incredible job? How did you end up here?
It hasn't been a straight path, that's for sure. So I've always had a full-time job, as well as being a runner. But my journey with Arc'teryx started in, I guess it was maybe 2018, 2019, and I actually started as a footwear tester. Um, and so I got my hands on I think it was the LD, the original LD, the original GORE-TEX and SL. Some of you might be familiar with all those shoes. So that's where I started. And then in 2021, I was fortunate enough to be able to sign on to the mountain run team as an athlete. And I was at the time I was working in nonprofit. I was doing events and fundraising in nonprofit organizations,
Mhm.
which, to be honest, I didn't love. um, and I was always kind of thinking like, oh, I really want to find something um, that I like doing. Events are great, but they really stress me out.
Yeah.
And so I kind of started looking at roles at Arc'teryx, and then I was friends with Scott Winston, who was running the product testing at the time, and a footwear role popped up, and I kind of sparked my or expressed my interest to him. And then slowly but surely, I was able, and this was the time when footwear was expanding. This was just before 2024 when they did
Yeah.
the launch. So they were really diving into footwear. And then, yeah, after about a year, I was able to get on as contract. And then that quickly turned to full-time role last June. So almost at a year as full-time employee. So yeah, and then I've been loving being on the team. It's been a really exciting time to be on the team as well.
Yeah.
And I've learned so much, and still learning so much. There's still days where I'm like, I don't really know what's going on here.
Welcome to the club. Uh,
Yeah.
and you referenced that you are a mountain run athlete, and what type of mountain run do you do? What is your passion? What kind of accomplishments can you share with us? This is your opportunity to kind of really shot. I'm very curious.
So I'm a long distance ultra runner. So I really like racing anywhere from 50K to 100 miles.
Wow.
Really like to torture myself out there. And I've been doing that for almost, I think, over 11 years now.
Wow.
Did my first 50K back in 2014. Yeah, and I just love being out in the trails. I really get a lot out of the training for these races, and kind of the structure of training and the process of training. And then the race or the objective is the cherry on top of everything. But yeah, I really just, the whole reason for doing it is to be out there in nature, and also challenging myself and seeing how far I can push myself.
Well, you push yourself far, and your accomplishments are wide, and it's pretty awesome what you've been able to accomplish while holding full-time jobs all the way around, right? It's pretty remarkable, Kat. Your time organization skills must be pretty dialed in. Now that you've been a run athlete for a long time, right? You've been aware of Arc'teryx. You've, as an athlete or sort of dancing around athlete and becoming an athlete and now working internally, you become more involved with Arc'teryx along the way. Now that you are truly an insider and learning a lot about it, what's something unique and special that you've learned that you maybe didn't know before you came inside, or something that you wished everybody knew about Arc'teryx?
Well, Arc'teryx as a whole, I think, is just a really special place because of the value they hold for sport and the outdoors. And I think that's you can really sense that around everyone you work with. So that's really nice, and it's nice to work somewhere that has a shared value as yourself.
Yeah.
Um, and then in terms of learning on the footwear team, I think one of the things, and we can chat more about it, that I was really surprised was the process and the length of process to create just one shoe
Yeah.
is 2 years. So you're kind of like, when you see a shoe, you're like, well, why isn't this changed, or what's going on here? Like, the design development process is 2 years. So that was something interesting I learned, as well as um, who the teams that are involved, and how many people are involved in the
Right.
entire process. Yeah, it's a huge thing just to develop one shoe. And I'm still learning the exact process, but yeah, it's a lot goes into a lot of research, a lot of innovation, and so yeah. it's been cool to have a small part in that.
It is an amazing team of people that need to come together, right? From athletes to the designer to the product managers to the developers, right? And then there's folks in the factory making sure the shoes are getting created properly, and then yeah, all the way around, even down to marketing, right? And getting the shoe out there and making people aware of it. It's fascinating what it takes. Well, let's dive in a bit to that and ARC's approach to footwear development because I would like to learn a little bit more about that. Um, what is the general process in creating updates or new products? What's the approach? And what we're talking like really high level here. Like, how does ARC view the inspiration for product to really even get the idea of where it should be going next?
So everything starts with the athlete, and you'll
Mm,
hear that over and over. And so we start with an athlete need or a problem to solve. So maybe if we're looking at a shoe that's currently in line, how can we make that better? Or if there's something that's not in line that the athlete is missing, what does that look like? So yeah, always starts with insight. Pardon me, insights from an athlete need. And then that trickles down into a brief created that then goes to the team, designers, developers, and that's when they create the, pardon me, losing my voice already, not a
all
good
right.
sign. that that's when they create the first design for the prototype.
Yeah.
And then once that design's in, we go through three main prototyping stages.
Mm,
So in those stages, we'll get the samples or prototypes, and then we'll run them through testing. And testing means we do field or fit tests. So that's just kind of like trying on a shoe at a shoe store for initial fit and comfort.
mhm.
Field testing is where we take the shoe out with a group, as well as competitor shoes, other inline shoes. And then we just do loops in the shoes to just kind of compare, see how they work or feel, perform right off the bat. And then we do, and I think this is kind of one of the most important testing is durability testing. So that's when we send it out with our athletes, our testing team. We just give them the shoes, they're core users of of the product.
Yeah.
And we just get them to put those shoes to use. And then I'm the person who collects all the feedback
Yeah.
and then packages it in a nice little bow and gives it to the designers and developers to go on to the next to the next round.
Right. To
So yeah, that
consider.
happens 3 times.
So three iterations, right? And a lot of insight that is being gleaned, right? Like you said, like there's different types of trials that you're doing with the athlete teams, as well as lab tests and all of that as well to take all that and then make that next iteration. And then at some point we end up with the final product. How are athletes selected? So what athletes are chosen to be and I've heard the term muse used at
Mhm.
Arc'teryx, right? How are athletes selected to be the muse for a product?
Um, well, it either like when we're working on athlete need, and if it's a specific athlete, like we for the Vertex Speed,
Yeah.
we were getting insights from Eric Carter, well-known mountain athlete, lives up in Squamish, and he's really like known for his fast alpine travel, whether it's skiing in the winter or running quick ridge movement in the
Yeah.
summer.
Fun.
And so he provided the insights for the Vertex Speed, as well as like other tidbits from other athletes. But we figured out the need for that shoe. So he was the clear muse for that
So is it
shoe.
his idea, like I need a shoe like this, or is it your idea to have a shoe like this, and then you reach out to, athletes to become the athletes on that? What's the back and forth on that?
That it's more of the for those that case, it's like he had the idea and then we can make it come to life
Mm,
and work as the team to make it come to life. And then there are cases where like for the Norvan, that was more of okay, we want to create a adventure shoe or have this well-rounded shoe. Who are athletes that do that kind of running,
hmm.
and then it was kind of the reverse. Adam and I were actually the muses for the LD4,
Yeah.
and so we were chosen for that shoe.
All right. Given that you do this type of running frequently, right, and you have so much
Mhm.
insight into the type of running that the Norvan LD4 is designed for. Um, and then are you thinking about specific locations as well to take this shoe? I know that when we talked with uh, when we talked about the Norvan, the Run product, right? There was locations where they were specifically thinking about this product being used. Is that happening as
Yeah.
well?
Yeah, we always will have for the product we'll have what we call the athlete muse, and then we'll have the mission or terrain inspiration to go along with the shoe.
Hmm.
So that gives the design and development team um, good visual of what they're designing for, and so they know like okay, this terrain's like super rocky, rooty, could be muddy at points. So they know they have a clear vision of what they need to focus on. Otherwise, it's hard to make a sharp point for a shoe if you don't really know what type of terrain it's meant for. So for the Vertex Speed,
Yeah.
they used Sky Pilot, which is in Squamish. It's one of the peaks in Squamish as the terrain inspiration.
Uh-huh.
And then LD4 was the Baden Powell, which I spoke a little bit about before.
Right. So,
So
so really thinking about what is needed on this trail and designing into that, right? And if it's not needed, then we won't put that in this, right? And I think that's really it's very cool, right? Because it allows for these shoes to become their best because you can really think about them from this one environment. Um,
yeah,
uh, yeah, yeah, and that's interesting. So I do want to share like some of the different products that you make so we can almost start to fit in these products. And then I would like to dive a little bit deeper into some of the products. So let's take a look. We have a slide here, slide 17, that we're going to pop up. And this goes through some of the various products that you offer. And this will help us understand, I think, where the Vertex Speed fits in versus the Norvan versus something like the Cylon, excuse me, right? So
yeah.
how are athletes accessing these shoes, and where is this a continuum? Are these call outs? How do you look at the footwear line, specifically Mountain Run?
So Mountain Run, we look at two key things. We kind of look at technical terrain, which you can see on the far left side of the graph, and then we look at speed, and kind of everything in between. And also for those that don't know Vertex, to us that means where run meets climb.
Mhm.
And you might have seen in the Vertex Speed where it says run your climb. So that one's a really like you're doing technical, you're mostly going uphill and then probably going straight downhill. And your focus is going up. Whereas speed on the other end, that's where we're really thinking about propulsion. You're wanting to go fast. You're likely on more buffed out trails, and more maybe like rolling terrain. And so those were kind of the two very specific ends of the spectrum we looked at, or we ended up with these two shoes. And then we were like, well, these are both very specific in their purpose. What's something that falls between that can kind of offer a wider range?
Mhm.
And that's where the Norvan fits in. So that one we call the adventure shoe. You can do a really wide range of stuff in there. You can go into the technical terrain. And then you can also go from your house to the trail in that shoe. So we've kind of started with these three
Yeah.
buckets of shoes, and then branch off from there with like the Gore-Tex versions and other
Yeah,
stuff.
and then even within the Vertex, there's the Vertex Speed and there's the Alpine, right? There's even niche shoes, maybe even more dialed into, like you said, those places of practice, a specific idea where that would excel. And the Vertex category is really interesting to me, and I'd like to dive into that a little bit deeper because I think in the past these were this use was serviced either by approach shoe, right, which was great in the climb but not great in the run, or by a run shoe, right, which was great in the run, but you sort of made it. You were like, well, okay, it's okay, and maybe I'll just bring rock shoes or something like that, or something stickier, right? But now the idea here is one shoe that really will service that, and this is where this Vertex Speed is a remarkable shoe that comes in. You said you've worked with Eric on the development of this. What types of features needed to be built into this shoe for it to succeed?
So there were a few very specific things. Emma Cook Clark was also an athlete
Oh,
that we
awesome.
used as a muse for this one. And a side note is, before I dive into the details, this was a time where we decided to make the prototypes in our athlete sizes for the first time. So normally when we're doing all our prototyping, we do US women's 7 and US men's 9. And this we actually did Eric and Emma's sizes, so
That's
they could.
awesome, right? From your job, that's nice because that now you can open up any athlete, right? You don't have to,
Yeah,
well, sorry, you're not a size 7 women's, you can't be on our design or our testing team, right? And
yeah.
so you're able to make that, right? And what are we looking at here?
So this is the very first prototype, and this was a really cool thing because normally with prototype one, it's kind of overbuilt. It's the first iteration of the shoe, so there's a lot of the time there's a lot going on. Anyways, these shoes were handed to Eric and Emma, and they just loved them right off the bat.
Wow.
And they were so excited about them, and didn't want to give them back. So that's not necessarily common for prototype one. But we're when that happened, the team was like, "Oh, we have something cool here." And so that was really exciting. And to be honest, not a lot changed from this prototype to the product that you see on the website now.
Yeah, right. It's kind of rare to on-site a shoe, but you more or less did. But looking at that prototype one, obviously you did go through some different iterations. What were you tuning in that shoe to bring it to where we are now?
So the big thing about this shoe is the midsole, the dual midsole, and the outsole.
Hmm.
So it's some people call it the mullet shoe, because the midsole has dual density. The front is a firmer foam, so it's stiffer, and is optimized for climbing when you're going up the rocks.
Yeah.
That also, the outsole of the front is also optimized for grip and climbing. So you're really getting, when you're going uphill, the stiffness and the stickiness you need from the shoe to be optimized in a climbing environment. Whereas the back is a squishier midsole, squishier foam, and then the outsole, the lugs are a little bit deeper, really optimized for downhill running and traction. So yeah, you kind of get a two-in-one one shoe here.
Yeah. I
And then
like
when
that.
we were
Yeah.
going through the different prototypes, because midsole outsole was such a focus, we were really focused on density of the midsole foam, and looking at abrasion resistance on the midsole, as well as outsole compound, so stickiness of the rubber and which one was preferred through that. And then yeah, that was the main focus for the different prototypes. Not a lot changed in the upper. Um,
Yeah.
and then
I see some wear in the midsoles here, right? I mean, this shoe was probably heavily used.
yeah.
But yeah, how do you diagnose that wear? How do you share those insights with the team? And then what adjustments do you see to either make the shoe more durable, or maybe it's overbuilt and need to detune it, right? Make it a little less durable. How do you share those insights, and how do those changes made?
Well, we collect the insights from the feedback from the testers, from the athletes, and then it just goes directly to the design and development team. And that's a really nice thing with our team, is that we're kind of in constant communication with our testers and athletes. And so they can easily just message us and be like, "Oh, hey, I'm noticing some wear here, some durability issues," and it just goes directly to the team, so we can troubleshoot it right away. And then they'll be like, "Okay, we need to try some different midsole compounds to see how we can fix the abrasion resistance," or they might see some delamination or something.
Right.
So it's a really quick feedback loop, which is really helpful.
Really helpful, right, to be able to do that, because I know 2 years sounds like a long time, but it's not, and it goes fast, and you need to be nimble and quick on the response, and then get these back out on your athletes' feet. So having somebody like you who can ingest all that information, share it, get it to the development team, make those changes, and get it back out there is really cool. Um, well, you all have prepared a nice video to overview this Vertex speed. So let's run that video real quick. And I just, after it's over, I would love to get any, as you watch it, like what do you see that's either missing or you want to add on to from this video? So Ben, if you don't mind running this Vertex speed video, we'd love to see that.
This is the shoe for that mountain run athlete that wants to go up into the climbing space. It is that true hybrid system.
Hi everybody, Aaron Long here with Chris Pope. We're stoked to be able to talk about the all-new GORE-TEX Speed, and this is a trail running shoe designed to run in technical mountain terrain. So Chris, what are the solves with this shoe here?
Yeah, the three major areas that we're looking at is this upper, looking at optimizing the fit. We'd also be looking at this hybrid midsole, so for run and climb, and then the specialized outsole as well.
I love this idea of an athletic muse or a terrain muse that informs the design of our footwear. Can we talk a little bit about what athletic mission led to the GORE-TEX Speed?
Yeah, absolutely. And the design really starts from the mountains. What do we need to solve? So for this one, we actually looked at Sky Pilot. It starts off pretty mild, and then the terrain just gets really extreme as you move up the mountain into the alpine space. So to answer the needs of the athlete, we had to create this hybrid shoe which combines all the best from running with the ability to climb. This truly is a hybrid approach, allowing you to have one shoe to do Sky Pilot.
And right off the bat, I look at this shoe and I see this integrated gaiter, obviously a lot of protection built into this upper.
Yeah, this is kind of a unique look, but it really came about from solving all those challenges on Sky Pilot. So we really need to have a focus on durability. You're going to be rubbing up against rock when you're going vertical and climbing. And then up top, we've got this knitted gaiter, which is going to stop any debris from coming in.
What about the midsole? You talk a little bit about hybrid construction. Can we go into that a little bit?
With the midsole, we are looking at actually dual densities. So for the running part, we really want that sort of more softer cushioning aspect to the midsole. And then up front, you want that rock feel, the precision. So we've upped the density a little bit just to provide that durability and ability to kind of hold an edge and smear on the rocks. The outsole here and the heel is really focused on the run side of things. And then this transitions into the forefoot, which is focused more on the climb aspects. We've really got this hard angle on the front to just give that precise edging.
Amazing. Yeah, it looks like a lot of good surface traction and great grip on that shoe. Very rad. I mean, this looks like a very athlete-inspired shoe design, and I mean, it's really taken the best of both worlds from climb as well as run.
It's that kind of little bit of everything that combined makes that perfect, fast, technical mountain, run, and climb shoe.
I'm stoked to get out there and do some scrambling with it.
Love it, right? And that reiterated a lot of what you talked about, Kat. But what do you want to? Is there anything you can add to that? Because you've seen it all, right? You've seen all these different insights. Is there anything tidbits you can give us about this shoe? Anything extra?
I mean, that was a pretty comprehensive video.
Yes.
But I was out doing a climb in Squamish, and Scott, who I was was my boss, he did a climb in these shoes.
Uh-huh.
And so yeah, he really put them to the test in that. So yeah, it's a really awesome shoe, and we're getting into the season that
Yes.
it's built for. So yeah, have fun with it.
It'll be fascinating to see where these get taken and what gets done with these. I think that something like this does really open up the possibility for doing some interesting technical terrain and maybe opening up some new FKTs in that realm as well.
Yeah.
It should be really fun to see what your athletes do with this, and yourself as well, right? As you get up there and do some of this. Well, I'd like to transition into a shoe that I love and a shoe I've been wearing for years, the Norvan. I get out, do sort of long distances. I'm not going nearly as long as you are, Kat, but then what I love is when I get up really high to then scramble a ridge, but nothing like maybe that the GORE-TEX is designed for. And I find this shoe to be highly capable in all terrain that I go to, as well as just being exceedingly comfortable. I just used it down in southern Utah to go backpacking, and we were getting into a bunch of canyons on slick rock, right? So it was great in smearing and running around the slick rock, but also with a heavy backpack on my back for moving camp. It did really, really well for me. What was the inspiration for this shoe? How were you as the muse really trying to adapt the 4 from the 3?
Well, I think this one was one in an instance where there was a shoe in line already, and it was how can we make this better, and what are the insights from the LD3? that we need to take from the athletes, testers, consumers to make the LD4 even better. So the major things that changed with this shoe was foothold. One of the things we were hearing, it happened to myself, was people were getting toe bangs, so their toes were hitting the end of the shoe, especially when running downhill and getting black toenails, which is very common in running, but it was like happening more than it should in the LD3. And then another thing was, because we now had the Cylon, which is super high stack, super cushioned, people were wanting a little bit more stability in the shoe and ground feel. So we brought the cushioning down a bit with the LD4. So people can really get that stability they want in technical terrain, and have a little bit more ground feel, because yeah, the Cylon, you're not getting that in the
No,
Cylon.
you're not. You're gonna feel wobbly as you get into some of that type of terrain, right? But really
Yeah,
great on a buffed out trail, right? It's just gonna be the
exactly.
best. Whereas this
Yeah,
now you could detune this, or just sort of lower that a little bit to get a little more sensitivity.
yeah. And then, I mean, there was a GORE-TEX version in the LD3,
Yeah.
and then looking at the GORE-TEX version, figuring out how to optimize the waterproofness and the design to make it excel in those wet conditions. So you will notice that the design of the LD4 and mesh version and the GORE-TEX do look different, but that's because we were looking at how to optimize the waterproofness for the Gore shoe.
Yeah, this is really cool. It's something I want to take note of, right? On the left here, you see that canary yellow. That is the non-Gore version. And on the right, you're going to see a Gore-Tex version. And just even looking at the way the laces are put together, right? This is something that is interesting, how you had to change it quite a bit to really make it waterproof. And this is something that, working with like Jonathan Sweigel, who's one of our applications engineers based in Portland, who spends a lot of time at your new design center there, had to kind of think about and how to best do this. What were you able to prototype some of these and add to these developments along the way?
Yeah, this was a completely different case than the Vertex Speed. So Adam and I were handed prototype one. They did the prototypes in our sizes. This was happening at the same time as the Vertex Speed,
Hmm.
and we were not fans of the first prototype.
Okay.
They were very overbuilt and bulky, and yeah, it just felt like a lot of shoe, not something that we were really necessarily excited to put on. That's maybe prototype two. But that one, this was when it really was helpful to have the muses working directly with the designers and developers, because we could really dive into what was needed with the shoe, and streamline it a bit. So this one, we did the three major prototype versions, but then we also had a lot of different iterations off of that,
Hmm.
to figure out. We had a huge thing figuring out the design of the tongue. In this slide that you'll see the tongues actually integrated into the collar.
Yeah.
But ease of entry was a big issue with this version. So we had to figure out how to make ease of entry better. So that was like a side iteration apart from the main prototype. So yeah, a lot of changes were made to these shoes to get it to where it's at. And then with the Gore-Tex version, it wasn't just a matter of slapping some Gore-Tex onto the current design and calling it a Gore-Tex shoe. We really wanted to figure out how it could perform well in those wet conditions. So that's where you see the covering over the eyelets on the laces, and
Yeah.
a little bit different design. So it is optimized for those wet conditions.
And were you able to take these out in wet conditions and truly prototype them and use them with your team?
Yeah. So here's some pictures. The picture on the left is a group testing some Gore-Tex shoes out. You can't tell, but it was actually pouring rain,
Uh-huh.
rain that day. It was really nasty. And then the other picture on the right, that's actually Adam running uphill. And there's one of our team members from Advanced Concepts is running behind him with a laptop, and we're actually doing a traction test here. So figuring out lug design and how to optimize traction. So these are the days I love when we get to go out and do these funny little tests. But it's just, yeah, getting the shoes out there, putting them on a bunch of different people's feet and seeing what they say.
And how, part of that, what you brought up earlier was around relieving some of the toe bang. So what was the solutions that you all came up with, and how did that get evolved over time to end up with the product that we see now?
That one was really had to do with forefoot hold. So um, securing the forefoot hold and getting that held down, getting good heel hold so your foot's not sliding forward. Because I think that was the main issue with the LD3 was people's feet were sliding forward. And then just having that a little bit of extra room and not as stiff as a toe box on the
Hmm.
top. Those were the main things.
So to get 4 foot hold, how were you engineering that? What was the approach, or what did you see as the design changes to create more 4 foot hold?
The integrated tongue really holds the foot back.
Okay.
So when you put your foot in the shoe, you'll notice that the sides there's elastic on the sides, and that really holds your foot in place. And then there's also just a little bit more space at the end of the toe box
Yeah.
for your toes.
Right. It's not always about creating more space because then you might get a sloppy feel. It's a
Exactly.
combination of creating more space, but also through the vamp of the shoe where the laces are, right? Being able to cinch that down, hold that midfoot so you don't get the foot migration within the shoe. And it's interesting that you were able to play with that and come up with this new version. And it's something really to highlight because I did notice the extra space in the toes. And honestly, I haven't bombed down a hill yet in these shoes, so I haven't experienced that maybe toe foot migration, but it'll be interesting to play with that. One of the things I noticed is since I loved the LD3, I think I went through 7 pairs of those over the few years that they were out. I was very nervous about the new one to come out. I'm like, but I loved it. And I love the new ones just as much. So well done on making somebody like myself happy, but then also being able to come up with a new version. Um, yeah, do you get involved at all in commenting on color or anything like that, or is the color team really separate from the athlete team?
Um, no, the color team is integrated. There's insights into there's ton like the apparel design team does this as well, and they'll ask athletes questions about like colors that make them feel fast, or if you're in a mindset of training, like what colors do you like to wear? So that's definitely integrated
Hmm.
um, into the design process. It definitely that one color is it's a tough one because there's so many opinions on color. Um, and we can
And
only do
trends and yeah, everything.
yeah, trends and yeah, like um yeah, and you can only do so many, but there's definitely consideration and like oh, if you're doing a race, you might want a brighter color, but if you're just out for a training run, you might want a color that's more in line with the colors of the forest or the mountains. So yeah,
Hmm.
there's a big consideration of color.
Yeah, so what colors make you feel faster?
Um, I really like I my last race I actually had a white pair of shoes, which
Hmm.
I always am like never make a white pair of trail shoes. It's so dumb, but yeah, that felt made me feel really fast. And or I like just a little splash of color on maybe like a darker shoe.
Mhm.
Or just like a red obviously is a kind of commonly known fast color, but I don't know if I just want a red shoe. And then this is Tatsu is my color for just being out in the forest and training. It's my favorite, one of my favorite Arc'teryx colors.
It really is a nice one, right? And out blending in with the forest, right? And being part of it instead of sort of sitting as juxtaposition. But maybe on race day you are just like, okay, I'm through this. It's interesting that inspiration, right? And it can't be taken for granted, right? It is something, the psychological part of being out in the mountains is a big part of it. And color that we wear is creates more comfort with the products that we're using. And it can't be discounted by any means. Well, Kat, I mean, it's been fun to explore some of this and the way that you affect and interact with these products. I think it's really interesting to look at the space and the continuum of the products that you're developing. Where do you see some of the future? What white space is yet to be filled or could be improved upon in the product line that you're currently working on?
I think, yeah, you'll just see an expanse in the run line, which is really exciting. And yeah, there's just footwear is a big focus for the company at the moment. So you'll just see
Mhm.
it growing, and lots more options. There's a lot coming down the pipeline. So yeah, because I'm a runner, I'm particularly excited about the mountain run line,
Yes.
and where that's going. But there's a lot of fun things in climb and hike as well. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, right. We haven't even talked about those today and where they fit in, right? And shoes like the A Crux, or some of the other shoes that are more designed for climb or for strict hike, right? That's another. And are you involved in working with athletes on those types of products as well?
Yeah, yeah, I work on the whole footwear line. So we have not just mountain run. There's climb athletes, hike athletes, alpine athletes. So yeah, it's a um yeah, we're every season there's more more and more shoes coming down. So we'll need more and more testers.
That's good. Well, there you go. So be a really nice athlete and be out there, and that's an opportunity for folks. And now you don't have to be sample size anymore either. So another
Yeah.
opportunity. Karina asks in the chat, have you made any suggestions for footwear that happened and that you're particularly proud of? Something that you're like, yep, that's mine. Those
Um,
changes.
there was with the Cylon, I think that was the one I was most excited about because that was athletes, myself, and then the idea actually came from an insight session with the European athletes in Chamonix.
Mhm.
Everyone wanted a shoe like they loved the LD3 for adventures but they really wanted something that made them feel fast. So when I was handed the Cylon for the first time, I was like, yes, I can. That's the style of running I really like to do is kind of fast trail running.
Mhm.
So yeah, that one I was really, really excited about.
So yeah, the Skyline really just filled in a niche that you're excited to be able to fill in, and that's cool that you got to be involved. I mean, how cool is that? You get to be involved in like the direction of these shoes, like, and be able to tune these products is really fascinating.
Yeah, yeah, and it was cool because at the start of the LD4 process, I wasn't working on the team yet, and so I was an athlete at the start of that process, and then by prototype one, I was on contract on the team. So kind of my journey along that the LD4 also is in line with my process or journey
Yeah,
of becoming
right.
an employee. So, and I got to
Exactly.
be in the campaign for the photographs and content for that. So that was really cool. Full circle moment.
Yeah, I've seen some cool imagery, and some of the imagery is quite moody, right? So you can't even really tell it's you. But now that we've met you, you can kind of see some of it. It's cool to see you being represented out there running and using this product. Well, Kat, it's been really fun to explore with you how Arc'teryx uses athletes and terrain to either update shoes or to move into white space in shoes and develop new products. And it's really cool also how you've been able to position some of these products into the entirety of the Arc'teryx line. So I really thank you for sharing that with us today. Any parting thoughts you have for us? Something you want to leave us with regarding the product development process, or something you really want to reiterate so that we all know like Arc'teryx shoes are something to really give us.
I think yeah, just knowing like how much goes into this thought and process goes into the design of these shoes. And yeah, I think it's a really, really special process that we have here. And I just encourage you to get out, try the shoes, and have fun in the mountains with them. We build them for you as well. So yeah,
Yes.
just enjoy, and we just want people to get out there. So
Uh, Awesome. Yeah. And I think you're creating products that are inspiring, and they fit well. They move well on the mountains, and also adding these amazing colors. And I can't wait to see what your team is developing next. It really is fun. It's fun to sometimes when I'm up in Squamish running around, I'm always looking at people's shoes. I'm like, is that something I haven't seen before? Right. And maybe I will see something interesting up there one day. Well, Kat, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be with us, for sharing with us those insights that you've gleaned and gained. And then we have those insights, and then we can use these when we talk with customers and folks out there. And I know I now feel a lot more connected to these products based on what you've told us today. So thank you so much for that.
thank you for having me. It was great to be here, and I always love talking shoes and products. So happy to chat anytime.
Okay, we'll take you up on that. We'll have you back soon.